The following Saturday then saw Farnborough take on mid-table Maidenhead United, who had lost their last two matches and hadn't played or trained for 2 weeks due to the torrential rain which had disrupted football at all levels throughout the season so far. Farnborough hadn't suffered as badly as that though, and they were even fortunate enough to have a full-strength side available for this one, with skipper Steve Watson returning to replace Chris Piper in midfield. Maidenhead, though, had 1 or 2 regulars missing, mainly up front, so manager Alan Devonshire, the former West Ham and England winger, decided to field a 3-5-2 formation and pack the midfield in an effort to stop Farnborough creating chances. Farnborough, though, had the bonus of what was now a settled 4-4-2 formation, with fullbacks Mickey Warner and Justin Gregory getting forward at every opportunity, as they were protected by 3 very fit and competitive midfield players in Scott Corbett, Steve Watson and Jimmy Dack, whilst Lenny Piper liked to join the attack from a left-sided position in much the same way that Mark Overmars did for Arsenal, but without the pace, of course. Although manager Graham Westley did occasionally change to a 3-5-2 system from time to time, every player now knew what was expected of them, and everything was working like clockwork. Indeed, they had a chance to take the lead after just 90 seconds of this match, with Mickey Warner's positive run from the right-back position starting things off, although an offside decision ruined things in the end, as Lenny Piper got too far forward again just as keeper Richard Barnard was deflecting Gary Crawshaw's follow-up shot over the bar from point-blank range. Barnard, though, made an even better save 7 minutes later, and a legitimate one as well, when he got down to his right to block another Crawshaw effort as Farnborough looked much sharper all round. However, Farnborough failed to build on that impressive start, and they only managed one other worthwhile attempt at goal in the rest of the first half, when a Steve Watson shot bounced narrowly wide in the 25th minute after a good 6-man move. Despite it being goalless at half-time though, there was no sign of any dissent from the Farnborough supporters, who all seemed to be appreciative of what Graham Westley had managed so far this season, even if they weren't exactly chanting his name very often. That was all a far cry from when he first took over though, as a change of the traditional Farnborough Town colours from yellow and blue to red and white, the naming of their Cherrywood Road ground to the Amiter Stadium, and the constant use of his own semi-poetic motivational phrases were all dismissed as crackpot ideas at the time, and were met with much hostility. However, winning the Ryman League Premier Division title was what really mattered, and left-back Justin Gregory maintained Farnborough's momentum towards that goal just a minute after the break, when he gave them the lead with a superbly placed shot into the far corner, as the Maidenhead defence presumably failed to realise that his right foot was probably even stronger than his left. With Maidenhead drifting down towards the relegation places, they couldn't just sit back and accept defeat by trying to keep the score down, and as they pushed forward, Farnborough hit them with a second goal in the 52nd minute, when Scott Corbett's low shot went through a crowd of players and sneaked into the bottom corner. In fact, Corbett was just a whisker away from his second and Farnborough's third just 4 minutes later, when he showed far more determination than Maidenhead's defenders to get his head to Jimmy Dack's cross, but the ball bounced agonisingly wide. Both sides then made a substitution apiece, with Ian Baird coming on for Farnborough in place of Steve Darlington, who was still trying to regain full fitness after a long injury lay-off earlier in the season. However, Gary Crawshaw was certainly looking sharp, and he had another chance to get on the score sheet in the 65th minute when he outpaced defender Brian Connor from Jimmy Dack's excellent through ball, but keeper Barnard eventually made another good save, despite being a bit slow to realise the danger at first. Barnard, though, was definitely keeping Maidenhead in the match, and he denied Crawshaw for a fourth time just a minute later with another good block before getting rather lucky with the rebound, as Ian Baird and then Lenny Piper were unable to capitalise. It was certainly a good spell of pressure from Farnborough though, and it paid off in the 67th minute when they went 3-0 up, although it was a rather fortunate ricochet right back near the halfway line off Scott Corbett's shins that put Lenny Piper clean through, but he still did really well to round keeper Barnard and ignore the attempted challenge from behind of defender Tim Cook to slide the ball over the line. Piper, though, didn't do so well 2 minutes later when he spoilt Mickey Warner's perfect cross with a badly mistimed header, and that actually saw him being substituted just seconds later, although his brother Chris was already waiting on the touchline to replace him anyway as it sailed wide. In fact, another one of Farnborough's younger players, Tony Taggart, was given a run out as well shortly afterwards to give Jimmy Dack a breather, as they were really cruising now. And indeed, Maidenhead's hopeless situation was made worse in the 87th minute when they were reduced to 10 men when midfielder Chris Ferdinand limped off, as they'd already used all their 3 substitutes by that time. Ironically though, just as Ferdinand departed, Maidenhead pulled a goal back as soon as play restarted, as Farnborough defender Barry Laker was uncharacteristically beaten in the air by a near-post flick-on from substitute Mickey Crichton's in-swinging corner, leaving Lee Channell to get ahead of his marker Darren Ennan and head in almost on the goal line. However, Farnborough hit back just a minute later to make the scoreline a more accurate reflection of how the game had gone, although it may well have been Maidenhead defender Steve Croxford who got the final touch to send the ball looping past keeper Barnard, after Ian Baird had initially and far more clearly got his toe to Mickey Warner's cross shot. That made it 4-1, which indeed was how it finished, as Farnborough once again ruthlessly demonstrated how not to slip up against lower to mid-table opposition, who of course have meagre resources in comparison.